I still remember the exact sound of the garage door rattling shut behind me the night everything changed. The hollow metal clang felt louder than any argument we'd ever had. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the key. Inside that garage was 5 years of my life. Sketches, prototypes, late-night coffee stains, and a dream no one in my family had ever taken seriously. My name is Ethan. I'm the quiet one. The kid who stayed up past midnight soldering circuits while my older brother Ryan was out winning trophies and collecting praise. Ryan was the golden child. Tall, charming, always knew the right thing to say. I was the one who got "That's nice, honey" when I showed Mom my latest idea. I invented something small but powerful. A compact solar-powered water filtration system that could turn contaminated water into clean drinking water for under $50. I called it Clear Drop. I built the first working prototype in that cold garage while my parents were busy driving Ryan to another debate tournament. I tested it on Muddy Creek water behind our house. When the first clear stream came out, I cried. Actual tears. I was 22 and finally felt like I mattered. I told Ryan first because he was my brother. I trusted him. I showed him the drawings, the patent application I'd started filling out myself because we couldn't afford a lawyer yet. He listened, nodded, asked smart questions. Then he said, "This is good, little brother, really good. Let me help you pitch it." I believed him. 3 months later, I walked into a local tech expo and saw a polished booth with my exact design under a new name, Pure Flow by Ryan Hale. My brother stood there in a suit, shaking hands with investors, smiling that perfect smile. When I confronted him, he didn't even look guilty. "You were never going to do anything with it," he said, voice low so the crowd wouldn't hear. "I refined it. I made it real. You should be thanking me." My parents took his side. Of course they did. "Ryan's the one with the business sense," Dad said. "You've always been more of a tinkerer. Let him run with it." Mom just looked at me with that soft, disappointed expression that always made me feel like a child again. "Don't make this about jealousy, Ethan." I left that night with nothing but the clothes on my back and a USB drive of my original files. I slept in my car for 2 weeks. The loneliness was physical. It sat in my chest like a stone. I kept replaying every childhood memory where Ryan got the bigger slice of cake, the newer bike, the louder applause. I had spent my whole life being the afterthought. Now, even my one real creation had been taken. The next year was hell. I worked night shifts at a warehouse and spent every free hour trying to prove the design was mine. I filed for a provisional patent the day after the expo, but Ryan's company had already filed a full application under his name. Lawyers cost money I didn't have. Every time I tried to talk to my parents, they shut me down. "Family first," they said. "Don't destroy your brother's future over this." I started having panic attacks in the warehouse bathroom. Heart pounding so hard I thought I was dying. Hands shaking so badly I dropped boxes. I would sit on the cold tile floor and whisper to myself, "You're not invisible. You're not invisible." It didn't always work. Then I met Lena. She was a patent attorney who took on small cases for a sliding scale. She looked at my original notebooks, dated, signed, filled with coffee rings and my messy handwriting, and her eyes lit up. "These are gold," she said. "You documented everything, continuously, before he ever filed." We spent months building a quiet case. I never told my family. I just kept working, saving every dollar, refining a newer version of Clear Drop that was better than Ryan's rushed product. I found a small manufacturing partner who believed in me. I started selling online under a different name, slowly, carefully. The reviews came in. People said the water tasted cleaner. Families in rural areas wrote to thank me. For the first time in a long time, I felt something other than anger. I felt proud. Meanwhile, PureFlow was struggling. Ryan had overpromised and underdelivered. The filters clogged. The solar panels failed in the low light. Customer complaints piled up. Investors started asking questions. Ryan needed a major redesign and a new round of funding, but the original patent application was still pending and under scrutiny because of my earlier provisional filing. That's when the phone call came. Ryan's voice was tight. "Ethan, I need you to sign something, a licensing agreement. It'll clear up the patent conflict so we can move forward. I'll give you a percentage, 10%. Just sign it and this whole mess goes away." I sat in silence for a long time. My heart was racing again, but this time it felt different. Not panic, power. "Come to the house," I said. "Sunday dinner, bring the papers, bring Mom and Dad. Let's talk like a family." He agreed, thinking he still held all the cards. Sunday arrived, the same dining table where I'd spent years listening to Ryan's victories. Mom had made pot roast. The air smelled like childhood and disappointment. Ryan slid a thick folder across the table toward me. "Just sign the last page," he said, trying to sound casual. "It's standard. You'll get royalties." I opened the folder slowly. Inside was a licensing agreement that would give PureFlow full rights to my original design and any improvements I made later, in exchange for 10% of net profits, after expenses, of course, the kind of deal that would leave me with almost nothing. I looked up at him, then at my parents. Their faces were already arranged in that familiar expression of, "Just cooperate so we can all move on." I closed the folder. "I'm not signing this," I said quietly. Ryan laughed, short and sharp. "Don't be dramatic. You can't afford to fight this. You'll lose everything." I reached into my backpack and pulled out a different set of papers. Lena had prepared them. A formal notice of infringement, documentation of continuous invention, and a brand new utility patent that had just been granted 3 days earlier under my name for the improved clear drop system that was already outselling his product online. Ryan's face went pale. You filed a new patent?" "I improved it," I said. "While you were busy taking credit, I kept working. Your version is based on my original work. Mine is better and protected." Dad started to speak, but I held up a hand. For once, I didn't feel small. "I have a manufacturer, I have customers, I have reviews, and I have a patent that covers the core technology you need to fix your failing product. Without my signature on a real licensing deal, one that actually protects me, you can't use any of it. Your investors will walk, your company will collapse." The room went silent. The kind of silence that feels like winter air. Ryan's voice cracked. "Ethan, please, I'm drowning. The company is drowning. Mom and Dad put money into this. We're going to lose a house if this fails." I looked at my parents, really looked at them. For the first time, I saw fear instead of disappointment. Mom's eyes were wet. Dad's hands were clenched on the table. Something inside me shifted. The anger was still there, but it wasn't the only thing anymore. "I'll license it to you," I said, "but not under these terms. You get a non-exclusive license for the original design only. You pay me 30% of gross revenue, not net, and you publicly credit me as the original inventor on every product and press release. You also sign a statement admitting the design originated with me, and you never claim sole ownership again." Ryan stared at me like I'd grown a second head. That's insane. No one will agree to that." "Then find another solution," I said, "because I already have one. Clear drop is mine. It always was." He looked at Mom and Dad for support. For the first time in my life, they didn't automatically give it. Mom whispered, Ryan, maybe we should listen. The negotiation that followed was long and ugly. Ryan argued, he threatened, he tried guilt. But every time he pushed, I simply said, then walk away. Eventually, he signed, with shaking hands, in front of our parents. The public statement came out the next week. Ryan's company admitted the original concept came from me. My name appeared on the packaging. Sales of both products actually increased once the truth was out. People love a real origin story. I kept building Cleardrop. Within a year, I had my own small team and a growing list of customers who cared more about clean water than about who had the better smile. I still see Ryan at holidays. It's awkward. Sometimes he tries to act like nothing happened. Sometimes he looks at me with something that might be respect or maybe just calculation. I don't need either. What I needed was the moment I sat at that table and realized I was no longer the invisible brother. I had built something real. I had protected it. And when the people who always overlooked me finally needed me, I was strong enough to decide the terms. I still work late in the garage sometimes. The door still rattles when it closes. But now the sound doesn't feel like loneliness. It feels like home. And every time I watch clear water pour from one of my filters, I remember the kid who used to cry alone over muddy creek water. And I smile because that kid finally got to keep what he made.